Hey, y'all, let's see if you can hear me here. Can you guys hear me? Test my mic. All right. So you got one person in here. If you can hear me, though, go ahead and type something in and let me know so I can talk and not worry about the audio. It should be okay. But yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and talk and let people join as as I go on here. Looks like there's nobody here. Just keep waiting. Yeah, as soon as you guys get in here, go ahead and chat so I know that my audio is okay. Oh, there we go. Now we got somebody on here. Great. Yeah, Isis. Cool. So now I'm not talking in a empty channel. That's nice. Thank God. Yeah, this is my first stream, first time, doing anything for this channel. It's something I've been trying to, you know, something I've been wanting to launch and do for a long time, since forever. Just to give a little bit of a background for people who maybe will watch this stream later, is that I've been, a very spiritual person my whole life. I wouldn't even call it spirituality. I was just a very sensitive person my entire life growing up. And I never really felt like I fit in, always sort of felt like an alien. Didn't understand, the practical realities of this world. Always had my sort of head in the sky, very sort of spiritual. I guess before I continue, can you guys hear me? Is everything okay? So I'm not, make sure my mic is working. Isis, can you hear me? Yeah, great. Yeah. So yeah, I never really fit in. I'm not going to go too much into that complete background. I'm just going to be kind of like a nutshell of things and how this evolved. But I've been very sensitive my whole entire life. I always felt like I could read the room, the energies in the room. Very empathetic. Just overall very sensitive to everything. And you could say, yeah, I sort of felt like an old soul and all that stuff. But as I got older, I had that feeling with me throughout my life. But as you go through life, you go to school, and there's a lot of things that society kind of pressures you to do. Whether that be getting a job, higher education, well, whatever it is, society's constructed to kind of force you into certain pathways and to believe certain things and to think a certain way. So of course, we all sort of struggle with our innate or our natural sort of being, and conflict with society, and trying to figure out how to ultimately stand our ground and be ourselves in a society that's trying to force you to be something that's not, right. And I went to school, higher education and so forth, did all that, got different degrees. Then I went to the traditional path of getting a job, having a career, and not to say that I didn't enjoy my career. I had an interesting career. I did, design, marketing, programming, a bunch of different stuff, that I was interested in. It wasn't ultimately fulfilling and satisfying at a soul level, I would say, but it was interesting. I had a passion for those things to a certain degree. But along the way, while that was happening, I was also going through my sort of spiritual journey in the background. And in 2008 was when I would say I really started to kind of tap into this inner me. I mean, I was always, like I said, always sensitive, but I didn't really start tapping into it until 2008 when I started writing into this book here. This is my black book. I'd say, well, no, 2 people in this world have actually seen this book. Now everybody's seen it. It's a black book. It was my dream journal, but it was, checking out the history of dreams and whatnot. See here, okay, 2007, not 2008, 2007. Right, little sketches. I'm not a very good artist. It's just little sketches of stuff, trying to write down stories. All the stories I had. And the thing is, at this time, these stories I thought were just dreams. Right. And also, like, whatever I say today, you can take it or leave it. You can believe it or not. I'm just giving you my experience and my journey on where I've come from just, as a child to now. And this is sort of the beginning, what was the beginning of my journey. And I have many more writings now, but there's a lot in here that I'll kind of show you as I talk. But it all, this was going on in the background as I was going through my career, and I was writing all these different stories and different ideas that I was, these different experiences through my dreams, so-called dreams. And as my career progressed, I was also doing like music. I did rap for a while. I still like to make rap music. It's fun, but I dabbled into different things, right? But it wasn't until I would say quite recently that I had a huge, crazy spiritual awakening, and it happened beginning of last year, 2022. And up until now, it's been a lot of things have happened. I've, been contacted by, dead relatives, dead, family friends, seen spirits in my living room, contacted, meeting, dead people in the astral, these different planes of existence. And I slowly started realizing that this was helping me come to a deeper understanding of what was happening. And the thing is, this reality is created by ourselves, and also a co-creation of ourselves as well. So it's like you are creating it, and we're also co-creating it together. As you know, this reality is basically just, if you're very scientific minded, you can call it the base level, the quantum reality, quantum mechanics, the infinite potentiality wave of probabilities, which is the quantum, the timeless space where all things are possible. Some people call that, I guess scientists would call that the quantum. Spiritual people might call that heaven, or they may call it, home, or the land of the other world, the other side, the base reality, spirit itself. But this journey was basically me just having dialogues within dreams. I'd have dreams, and I'd have a dialogue inside of my dream. And in the beginning, it was just I'd have these dreams and I'd write them down. But then I started getting the idea: what if I started asking questions to these dream characters in my dreams? And so I would be asking, questions like what are you, and what's your purpose, and basically, and I was just experimenting, and I would get answers back, and I would write them down. And I thought that was interesting, but I didn't know what to think, right? I didn't know, is this spirit? Is this just the mind? What is this? I was just sort of playing with my own consciousness. And I would get a lot of interesting information, and I didn't know what to make of it until I had my great spiritual awakening, and I had all these, and I got bombarded with a lot of past lives and different pieces of information about, now I guess they call it the Akashic records, and different types of records, basically getting unconscious information from, basically reality. The thing is, nothing is truly separate. We're not separate from anything. This is an illusion of separateness, right? As you know, like as science would say, it's all just connected. You just can't see it, right? The quantum. But in a sense, that base reality is non-physical. So this sort of illusion of physicality is a construct or a simulation, you can call it. People like calling it, nowadays it's called simulation. Some call it a matrix, but basically it's a realm. It's a realm that is an illusion of physicality, and that physicality is of separateness, called duality. That's why there's off and on, black and white, yes and no. Everything has an opposite. Everything has contrast in this particular realm. And this particular realm is actually quite rare compared to other realms, because it's very, very low vibrational, very dense. And that's why in base reality, it's the complete opposite. You feel super connected, right? You feel as one. There's no duality. There's just a singular wholeness and just a sense of knowing and being all connected. But here, there's a lot of separation, and that separation creates a lot of interesting things. Like it creates the illusion of good and evil, or good, bad, like dark, light, and all of that happens because in this dual realm. And when you have duality like that, it can cause a lot of different things to happen, right? Like you can have negative experiences, positive experiences, and if you don't realize that you're actually spirit, your true form is spirit, and you're just experiencing this physical, this so-called duality realm, you get confused and you don't really know, and you're like, oh, well, I'm just going through the motions here, and I'm happy, I'm sad. But that's part of the experience. Your soul's trying to, grow. I'm not going to go too much details on that right now, but I want to kind of share with you some things that. So as I started this channel just now, this is the first stream, and just want to give you kind of a taste of different things that this channel that I'll be talking about. I'll be making videos and different things from this channel. Oh, I see. Isis has something. I think a lot of our dreams do come from reality in a way. I love this topic as I have a lot of experience in lucid dreaming unintentionally. Yeah. I mean, everybody has their own idea on what's happening, and through your own experience, right? I have, at first, I used to think that, from my point of view, that I used to think that dreams were just dreams, and they were just sort of, possibly just some sort of mechanism within the brain that is there for learning, and you're just sort of observing the algorithm of the brain learning and going through different simulations within the brain, and you're just in a sense able to observe the algorithm that's happening. That's sort of a scientific point of view. Like your brain's doing things while you sleep, it's cleaning, it's learning, it's doing this stuff, and you're able to kind of consciously observe this algorithm of cleaning and learning as it's happening. And I do believe, yeah, there is some sort of a cleaning mechanism happening. However, there's no real reason why you would need to observe it, or even have the ability to observe it. It's not, in a scientific point of view, there's no reason why you would need to, right, observe it. Scientifically, if it's just cleaning, then let it clean. There's no reason why you have to observe it. But I've now come to believe that lucid dreaming is basically, this is all just spirit. This is all just, it's all the same thing. There's just different perspectives of this. Like, right? So a scientist would say, there's a quantum reality and the macroscopic general relativity, Einstein stuff, right? Newtonian mechanics. And then there's two different things, right? Well, it's all the same thing. It's just different perspectives of the same thing, right? It's not like this is a different reality. This is a different reality. It's only just the same reality. It's just different views of this reality. You can look at it from the quantum level, which everything's connected, or you can look at the reality from the top level, where it's all Newtonian mechanics and it's all sort of dual and separated, right? Either it's connected, all connected perspective, or the perspective of it being disconnected. It's not truly disconnected, it's the perception is different of it, so how you perceive it, it can change, right? But I think ultimately it's all connected, because that's the base of everything. And if that is true, then what we're experiencing is there is a connection between this all connected reality and your dreams. And I believe your dreams are basically, there's lots of different ways you can interpret it, but some of them are you're getting glimpses of your parallel selves. These so-called parallel realities. Every thought you have, every action you take, everything you do is you're sending out a vibration or a frequency, and that is because everything, as we know from the quantum, from what we already know, is that everything is just frequencies and vibrations. That's basically energy, right? Waves of energy. That's the quantum. It's just waves of energy and frequencies and vibration. So if that's all there really is, everything you're doing is causing different types of frequencies and vibrations. So I believe that we live, basically, we are infinite, we are eternal, and this duality realm we're experiencing right now is just it's an experience. Once you die, the shell of a body dies, but your consciousness, who you really are, not the identity. Because right now I'm so-called the identity of Jacob right now. But that's just a ego, right? That's not the true me. That's the ego. The true you is the one who asks the question, who am I that's asking this question? Who is it that's asking the question right now? So you go all the way back. So that's the consciousness you, because I've come to this conclusion based because I've had tons of past and parallel live experiences, and lots of different experiences like that with all my many different past and parallel lives. And I'll give you a sample of some of these things. I also have lots of premonitions that are coming true. This is also why I think it's very urgent to share a lot of stuff, because I have premonitions in this book that happened 10 years ago that are now coming true. And I'll share some of that with you right now, actually. So if I go to, let's see here. Some things have coming true, and some things that we'll wait and see, but they may come true. We have to realize that there are infinite streams of this reality that we're in, right? Every choice you make is a different stream of potentiality and things that can happen. The future is not certain, but there's high probabilities of things that will happen based on what's going on right now, right? Because the vibration that we're all in, because we each have our own personal vibration, but the cumulative vibration of all beings on this planet, also create a one large vibrational frequency, and that vibration will attract a certain future to happen, right? Some people call it the secret, the law of attraction, and that is true. However, the law of attraction is basically, it's always happening. You don't have to manifest. You don't have to go try to manifest something. You're always manifesting something. Whatever you believe right now, that's what you're already manifesting. Whatever you believe right now is what you're creating, right? So here's, this is in 2010 was when I had my first past life experience. Wrote that down. I want to share with you a prediction I had here. If I can find it. Might be a second. Basically, it talked about, because it said in here, it says, it's so funny because I was going through it and I'm uploading all this information to a Google Sheet so that I can organize all of my hundreds and hundreds of experiences I've written down, literally hundreds, and organizing them by date. So I date and timestamp all my writing, and so I can know when the order of how to upload it. And I was going through them, and one of them said in the 2020s, I was like, oh my God, 2020s, what did they say? They said in the 2020 something's going to happen. This is like 10, 12 years ago. All right, here's this one. Also, lots of inventions in here, because sometimes you're accessing past / parallel lives, because there's no such thing actually as a past life, because past is a linear thing, and that's in this dual realm right now. That's how we understand time is past, present, future. It's duality. It's a duality realm. But when you go in ultimate reality, right, base reality, heaven, whatever you want to call it, quantum, when you're there is no past, present, future. It's all happening at the same time. It's all the same point. So that's why there's no past in the quantum, in the ultimate reality. And there's only just a singular point, past, present, future at the same exact point. And so that's why I call it parallel lives. In this dualistic realm, I call it past life for the sake of argument, for in this realm. But what the truth is, it's really a parallel life. It's all happening simultaneously at the same time. And that's why when you're having some dreams about you that's doing something different, and you're like, well, that's very realistic. It's like experience of me doing something different. It's probably you're tapping into a parallel you that's doing something, because so consciousness basically is synonymous with soul, your consciousness. So when you're sleeping and your consciousness is experiencing something, when you're observing something, that's your consciousness observing something, and that's your soul observing something. So when you're dreaming, that's your soul, or the true you, experiencing something. Just as it is here. This is a different type of experience, one that's physical. There's lots of places where you can go in this reality, in this existence, where it's not as physical, it's more spiritual. Here we go. There it is, guys, right there. And it's 2009. In 2009, it says in the 2020s, right there, in the 2020s. Yeah, basically, it says that there's an independent republic, and the future of the United States is that it's an independent republic, and in the 2020s our basic morals and feelings about people, and our morals towards people, starts to be taken away or declined because of the technology in the 2020s. Like, technology is causing our morals to disappear. And it says that there's an independent republic, like the United States is like, it's like right now the United States is sort of unified. It's United States, but somehow in the future, in the 2020s, it's like each state is going to be its own like little country. Like it's like an independent republic, like Washington State or California or New York. Like they'll be sort of like their own isolated little kind of country. it's not, they're not at civil war, but kind of saying like some states are like retreating, saying, hey, you know what, we're no longer part of the United States. We're sort of part of this country, but we're kind of more independent from the United States, like beyond a state level, almost like little mini countries. So it's kind of like, you know, the states will have like the state government, and like the state will also have their own mini federal government sort of feeling. And then there's sort of this big entity called the United States, but it's more like just the states now rather than United States. It's slowly becoming less united and just states. At least that's what my vision said in 2009. And it also said that scientists in various areas discovered breakthroughs that would advance mankind. It says that we'll have technology to extend life almost forever. Basically, and because it has this little bit, it says there's this boy that says, I'm gonna take a nap. And then I say, oh, that's fine. Boy says, I hate my work. And I said, I laugh. I said, you work, to this boy? And the boy says, yeah. What's so funny? I said, well, you look like you're 8 years old. And the boy says, no, I'm much older. Trust me. I said, yeah, how old are you? And the boy says, well, I'm not sure. I said, when were you born? And he said, 1946. I said, 1946? What are you talking about? He says, you got to be kidding me. You'd be so old. And he says, no, he said, no, I'm like 8. He says, so you'd be more like 80 something than 8. This is back in 2009, right? And the boy said, well, it's because of technology. It says, what do you mean? It says, the boy said, we can control our youth. Our bodies don't really age anymore. We are not immortal. They can basically die. You still get shot, and you can die or something, but by natural, you don't die by natural causes. You won't die by like old age. So that, anyways, that was something that little tidbit. And it's like, yeah, so we do know that technology nowadays, lots of technologies out there that are sort of removed, so that's making it easy for us to make bad decisions, and morality is going down the tube, right? People just don't care anymore. There's more ego than ever anymore. People just, want to be, the smartest, or, the sexiest, or the whatever, like the best. It's all ego stuff nowadays, right? Super ego. Also, there's a lot of super spirituality. That's why it's like a bifurcation. And I'll talk about the ascension I think is happening right now too, which is called the Great Reset. But that's just a little bit about what's going on. But also, I've had not just stories like that and like premonitions, but also I've gotten information. So I'm not really good at math, right? I'm not a mathematician or anything. But I had a dream between the dates of 2013 and 2014 about mathematics. I got a huge download of mathematics. Check this out. Basically, it was a dream. What does it say here? It says, trying to give you the synopsis. I was in some sort of advanced math class, and as I moved from table to table in the dream, these are actual physical tables in a classroom, the teacher reminded us that the number next to our name on the chart he was pointing to was also changing. There's like, so I have like table 1, I said 98, and then that goes to table 2, 95. Things were all linked together in these different tables. So I woke up at that point, and I went back and I sucked back into that so-called dream. See, at this time I called them dreams, but actually these are soul experiences in my point of view. I was now being tutored, narrated by myself. So like my higher self, I call it my higher self, right? So there's only a tiny bit, in my point of view, there's only a tiny bit of you experiencing this dual reality. Your soul is actually much larger, much bigger. And this physical shell is actually really constraining on your soul. And when you sleep, it wants to be free of this dual prison. This little fragment of you wants to be free, and it goes up into its higher self and experiences, basically escapes this little prison for a moment. This part of you, this identity, ego you, is just a fragment. It's like the tip of your thumb. If the whole soul is the size of your body, the experience of this fragment of you is only the tip, like the fingernail of one of your fingers. It's a very tiny piece. Because so there's a higher you that's actually out there too. And that's actually observing this experience as well. Because it's all holographic, right? Like a hologram. In a hologram, you take a piece of any hologram and it can actually represent the entire structure of the hologram, right? So that's what a hologram is. So that's a similar concept with consciousness. You can take a piece of consciousness out of consciousness, and it still is the same experience as the whole consciousness. It's like you take a bucket of water, and you take a drop of the you take a drop of water out of the bucket. It's still water. It hasn't changed. Same thing. It's like if there's a big bucket of consciousness, you take a piece out. It's still the exact same consciousness. The size doesn't matter. And so I had this here, this math table here, and I was getting all these downloads, and I'm not good at math, and I have no idea what math it was saying, but I just woke up and wrote down everything I saw and everything I experienced. And it gave me all these different like mathematics about these tables and how everything's working together. And this is what I was working on. Like you can see here, it was telling, it was telling me how things were rotating and how things were changing how the math works. And telling me, it says like, it was like a sort of a spiral of how things were going in like a Z index, it says. And you can see here, right? I just wrote down all the formulas and everything of what it was saying. And this is what more examples of, so it's kind of there. You got more here too, a little bit more. Here's another one. Oh, another page of this stuff. And basically at the very end, I found out what it was. It was like, it didn't tell me what it was until actually I wrote everything down. After I got the whole class, I actually I figured out what I was learning. And I was learning how to create the so-called, it was advanced math class on creating true 3D objects. Now, the crazy part is that I looked some of this stuff up, and it's actually true. Some of this stuff, I mean, I can't confirm everything. I'm not, I don't really know where to look. But I looked some of this stuff up, and it's actually true mathematics for 3D objects. And I've never learned that stuff in my life. I have no idea. But so these things were happening right in the background before having a Great Awakening. These things were happening. A lot of interesting stuff, inventions, and this information and mathematics just downloaded to me. And I didn't know how to make sense of it. I just said, I'll just write it down. I'm not trying to question what it is. I'm just writing it down. It's crazy. Either you call it, spirit, soul, or you call it just the mind. But it's like, the thing is, the problem was I had with that. When this happened, I was like, well, if you think purely scientifically, how is the mind getting information out there about these advanced things and just download it into your head? I never studied this stuff. And I don't think the argument works that, oh yeah, if you just maybe saw something on TV and then, if that was true, maybe I would get bits and pieces, not an entire class, right? It's like, you don't walk around in the world and like, oh, I know quantum mechanics all of a sudden because I watched a couple of videos, or, I'm just around people who talk about it. Therefore I can write all the formulas out. That's never happened to anybody. Right. So there's no reason why I would have all these formulas and all these things and all this, like basically being able to teach it with never even learning it. Right. So that was like a wake up call for me. Like, something's going on. There's no way that this is, something's going on in this reality. There's no way that I can just naturally pick this stuff up. So that was the first trigger that I was like, something's going on. And because like I would call all these things dreams, but after this I was like, maybe these aren't dreams. Like, what's going on? And then I started getting, right after that I would get like more unconscious information about different stuff. Here's and I would get things that are just crazy stuff. Like, check this out. Like, I mean, and things that I was never even interested in. I would just get ideas. Like, check this out. Like, this is some like teenage girls like shirt design. I'm not into fashion really, and I'm not a designer for teenage girls fashion, like preteen fashion. I have no idea, but like all these things popped into my head, and I just wrote them all, sketched them out. It's crazy stuff, right? But it's not as time went on, I started realizing it's not that crazy, because I started getting a lot of experiences of, in my dream, not dream, but like I would wake up, and the thing is, thing is, when most people dream, they go, oh, it's kind of hazy. I was kind of semi-conscious, right? They can almost like watching a film or something. But as time went on, I would get, in a sense, I wouldn't even call them dreams. It's like real experiences. It's like just as clear as it is here, as it is right now, just that vivid of me experiencing something. And it was me, and like I was a country singer in like, maybe like 1800s country singer, female, 40 something years old, getting ready to get on stage. And before that, I was like powdering my cheeks. This is all real experiences that I had, and I was her, and I was looking in the mirror, and I was her, but it was like it was interesting because like the Jacob was gone, and I was like, I was this person. And then I'd been an Italian soccer player who was in his 20s, and I love soccer. I'm not really interested in soccer, but I had this feeling I just love soccer so much. And the thing is, after these experiences, I always look in the mirror now whenever I have these certain experiences where I go, it's very not like Jacob, the identity of Jacob. I look into the mirror because I want to go, I'm probably not Jacob, and it's like something's different. So I look in the mirror and I'm somebody else, but I know it's me because it's the same. Because I know it's me, it's the same feeling of me, the core me, but not the identity me, not the ego me. So it's like there's all these different egos, which basically these different parallel lives I've experienced. I've had tons of experiences with these different parallel selves, different, you call them past lives, parallel lives. More things about the future of the internet, of course, a future of the web, it says. Here's one thing. So this is 2014. I wrote that. 2014. And the future of, according to this writing, right? We don't even know if it's going to happen or not. But it said basically the future of the web is going to get much more animated than it is now. It's going to become like basically like animation, like crazy animations everywhere. It's going to be, right now it's sort of, I would say less animated. It was really animated back in 2000. And then it became much more static and flat design, and then slowly it's a little more animated now, but it's going to become much more animated, almost as like everything's just being animated. There's much more higher sense of personality and creativity in all things that are online. That's what it says here. That's going to be a big thing. So like the sense that these animation type designs are going to come back is what it says. That's the future. And there was this crazy thing too here. Like when that happened, my consciousness said, I wonder what YouTube would look like in the future. And so it told me what YouTube was gonna. This is, I guess, a potential future YouTube, right? I'm not gonna say it's the YouTube that we're gonna experience, because these are all I'm pulling from potential, basically from the quantum realm, which means all potentialities, all potential futures. So this is one potential future. It may or may not happen in our potential future. But this is what it looks like here. So basically what it said here, 2014, see if you can see it. Here, it's kind of hard to see the light. So there's two boxes, one box here, one box here. This top box it's called the regular video player, like you'd see like the regular video player. And beneath the second one, it's called a second player. And so there's two videos happening simultaneously. You have a video player, the main one, and then right beneath it, you have a smaller, and it's like a sidekick video player, basically. And the example I got was like, the main video player would play, like, for example, you're watching some concert, right? And here's a concert that's happening, and you're watching them on stage, the artist on stage. And the one beneath it, you're watching a second video of what's happening backstage at the same time. So you get two streams happening at the same time. It's like multi-channel video, where you have one perspective of what's happening, and you have a second perspective of what's happening somewhere else of the same event. It was like this, and it's like a sidekick video player, second player. And it was also it was first came up with, it was supposed to be used as a second player for what's happening, but it was also could be used as to like monetize stuff. Like second ads could be playing, like an ad would be playing there. So instead of having the ads play in the main video player, ads could be playing beneath it in a separate video player at the same time. And it was like, and people had, and the size of the screen had to be the size of both players, because otherwise you couldn't monetize that way, because you could always just shrink the screen to only show the top player, but like the screen could only be as small as both players. So you had the option of like having ads play over the main player or ads play simultaneously at the same time in the bottom player. So anyways, that was an interesting thing that I saw for YouTube, it looked like. So, and then of course I have drawings and stuff like that, right? I'll go into some more stuff here in a minute, to other stuff. I want to show you some kind of just this interesting stuff, right? You know, so I'm trying not to talk too much about, you know, like my ideas about the afterlife and too much of just talking. I want to give you some real concrete examples of what I experienced and document it. I think that's what is going to make this channel different than other channels out there. A lot of channels, yeah, you could talk about your experiences, like my near-death experience. I saw this, I did that. They're very interesting stories. You know, you can believe it or not believe it, you know. But I think how mine's different is this, like, I've documented all my shit. Like, I've documented everything with date and timestamp and drawings. Like, and if it comes true, it's like, there it is. It's like you could, you know, carbon date this book and find out I actually did right at that time. Right. Again, here's a fashion idea that I really had no, you know, I have no interest in fashion really, but look at this. Interesting. It says replaceable back pockets for pants. That you can replace your, it's like back pockets, like fake back pockets, faux back pockets that you can buy and just stick them on your butt, stick them on the back of your pants. It's like, interesting. Replaceable back pockets for pants. It's an interesting one. It says distributors, young girls stores, Claire's, etc. It says value proposition. I have no idea. This all came to me. It said value proposition $3 a pocket. What? Pre-designed, detachable, replaceable designs for any occasion and holiday or season. Fits on most pants. Thing is, I woke up and this all came to me and I wrote it down. I have no idea what this is about. I don't know. Look at this stuff. It says holiday winter style beads right there. And it says ripped jeans effect. Huh. It's a new one. But yeah, that's an interesting one. What if anything else here? Here this one. Here's in 2020, an invention idea where it's sticker here. It says here, this one here. It says sticker or animated GIFs battles for chat apps. You select a sticker as usual and send to the chat, and you press enter. And so I guess I'll just summarize it. Basically, just like a normal, you know, like your, you know, messaging applications that you may use, you can do GIF battles. Like you would select like a GIF, like an animated thing, and then you put enter. Then the other people there, the other person you're chatting with, the group or a person, they could tap. They could put in their own little animated character. Like right now, we already have those animations, little GIFs you can add in, right? Smiley faces, things, you know, little effects. But this way, like you could each put one in, enter one, and then those two things would battle each other. It's like, you know, almost as if like I can imagine now, just thinking about like, you know, Pokemon battles via chat. You just like toss in your little, you know, little Charizard or something, and they would put in a Squirtle, and then they would just fight each other on the screen in front of you, and you would battle each other. It's like, and you could monetize this thing. Like you get like for money or tokens or something, but like, it was like you could do animated GIF battles via chat. That was really interesting. Oh, here's something in 2020 that had two here. And where was this? This is 6. Okay, yeah. This is October of 2020. Or no. Sorry. This is not. This is June 10th. And you see here this little spiral. This is a interface for memories. It's like a memory interface. I don't know. I guess in the future we're going to be able to access memories, or at least influence memories that I've stored in the brain. And this was the interface I saw for it. it was like a spiral of different memories, these little boxes, and you could select and kind of trigger different memories. And I, I guess I don't, it doesn't have too much details on it, but basically it's half enhancement, half supplement. And it's created for first created for people who have disabilities and people who have cognitive impairments and maybe they're comatose, like people who are like it wasn't made for just an average person. People who had serious disabilities or like in a coma or there's a way for us to communicate with them via like their memories. Like they could select a memory and you could select a memory together. It was interesting. It was like, but this was the interface for it. Also, yeah, I guess in 2020 I had a whole slew of like inventions came to me. I don't know. 7/19, 2020. So in July of 2020, I guess the next month, huh? It had the future of video game handhelds. It was Sony or Apple. It said Sony on the front next to the screen, but the games had an Apple logo. That's interesting. Wow. So what? Oh yeah, it says here. Yeah, it says Sony right there. So it's like a Sony device, but Apple games. It's like, so I guess so Apple is going to make games for this device. That's interesting. What? Oh my God! Look, yeah. See, look. So Sony device, and on the back has an Apple logo on the back, right in the middle. Oh wow, interesting. Oh yeah, and so like this device, like it was expandable, physically expandable. See how this here and there? It was like clear, no buttons, just a screen, and then you could stretch it or pull it, and the device would come out, and it would stretch, and you can see back powered off. It was like this side, this size, and then you could like stretch it or something. You could pull it out. Oh, it says powered. Oh, powered off. So it's powered off. It's this size. It says back powered on. When it's powered on, it like naturally extends on its own. I guess you don't stretch it yourself. It automatically extends. I haven't seen this stuff in years. As I write this stuff down all the time, and I have hundreds and hundreds of these things, so I forget what I've written down and experienced. Wow. It says a thin black vent. Oh, what is this here? It says said it was Sony on the front next to the screen, but the games had an Apple logo. I assume that Apple buys Sony. Oh, what? I assume that Apple buys Sony in the future. Huh. Okay. But why the physical game cartridges? Yeah, why not digital? Maybe you can do both, it says. It says screen device can stretch and bend. Also, it can. Controls are raised from the surface. Okay. So look. So like it's clear like that. It says the controls actually raise from the surface. How does that do that? That's interesting. So it's like it looks flat and clean, but then I guess when it's off, but when it powers on, maybe the buttons raise through the surface to the surface, and it can stretch, and it pulls. So like it's off, it's flat and clean. When it's on, it extends, and the buttons come up from the flat surface. I can't even see the light. It's like there's nothing there, and then you power it on, and it gets bigger, and the buttons raise from that surface. What? It says controls are raised from the surface like they are being pushed behind a thin skin. Yeah, so it's like raising up behind it, protruding. You can decide type, amount, and size of controls, such as a pad and buttons. Oh, what? So like you can have different types of controls. So like you can have a stick, maybe a control stick, or like analog pad, the analog pad or a stick, or maybe multiple sticks, multiple pads. Oh, I see. So you can like have any sort of like configuration raise up through that skin of like buttons or any kind of controls. Oh, that's interesting. Oh wow, it's cooler than I thought. Says and here's the back here. Read here. It says a thin black vent-like bars extend almost the full depth of the device from screen to back. Games are placed sideways and back in the center. It said 5x times 5x was written on the back where you put the games. It says, so I guess you can put up to 5 games at once. Whoa, what? Or you can store 5 games or play 5 games? What does it do? That's weird. There were finger grips on both sides indented. It says here, right here, here's the games. This it's hard to get the focus on it. Right there, those are the Apple games. It's hard to get it. Here, there you go. It says you put the game inside and sideways. I didn't know why until I turned it on. Silver in color. This thing. That's very Apple-like. Silver. It says when it's powered on, it says the back expands and the vents fan out. The device can stretch freely when the game is in sideways. Oh, so when it's in sideways, it can stretch out. I guess if it's not in sideways, it can't stretch out. That's how it was designed or engineered that way. Oh wow, that's wild. Okay, before I end this stream, I think I'll do I'll share one or two different parallel life experiences, or parallel lives, past lives, parallel lives, and then and maybe one dream dialogue, and then maybe one dream dialogue, and then one past parallel life experience, and then we'll close out this stream. Okay, so let's see here. Let's do the past parallel life one. Maybe I'll do something recent because I have tons of this stuff. I'll just do a few different things here. Oh yeah, I want to say before I say anything else, I want to say this. This is sort of like the reason why this channel exists. That I've just sort of came to this kind of understanding recently, is that this whole channel, these dialogues and dreams, these experiences, past lives, all these different things that are happening. So it all started from this dream dialogue, the dream book, right? But it evolved into much greater and more interesting things over time. But it's all a journey, right? It was just me dabbling into my own dreams, that slowly turned into this great awakening within me to see what reality is really all about. Dialogues, this dream journal, these dream dialogues were just the beginning of my journey, and they're just my personal way of enlightenment, right? Personal way of finding enlightenment. And so one of the reasons I'm supposed to share my journey is to let others be aware of another way to reach enlightenment, right? There's lots of ways to reach enlightenment. There's lots of different, Jesus had his way. Everybody has had their own way to reach enlightenment. And my particular path has been with just investigating my own dreams, and just trying to see what they were all about. And I didn't have any judgment about what they should be or shouldn't be. I just sort of experimented and just sort of asked questions to myself and just wrote things down, not judging, just journaling my experience. And it slowly evolved into a really intense spiritual awakening. And so dreams are just was just the path towards enlightenment for me. Right. So dreams are just one such way to find enlightenment or reach enlightenment, and sharing that with people to see that there's other options out there. You don't have to, particularly read the Bible or read, a certain holy text. You can just do something simple as going within yourself, right? Inner engineering, just asking questions yourself. And one great way to ask questions yourself is when you're dreaming or lucid dreaming or just inside your dreams, because you're in a very high vibrational state, right? And so when you're in this high vibrational, great gamma frequency state, your self-identity, the ego you, the self-identity ego you, sort of is not as stuck to you. It's not as quite entangled with the higher you, the soul you. And so when when the ego you is kind of asleep, the real you, the higher you, I don't say real you, I'd say the higher vibrational you is more awake. That's a great way to ask honest questions to yourself, and get honest answers back from from your higher self, or the depths of reality. If you're not ready to hear the word higher self, the depths of reality, you'll get a more honest, intimate dialogue with yourself that way, and with reality, right? And I used to call it in the very beginning an honest, intimate dialogue with reality, because I didn't know what to call it. So you can have, that's just one such way to have that intimate dialogue with reality, to see what's really going on, to look into your own unconscious, subconscious, right? It doesn't have, so this journey doesn't have to be my same exact journey, but starting out with dreams and dream journaling, asking questions yourself before you sleep, and then waking up and writing down your dreams is a great way to start your journey to enlightenment. And my way is just one such way. I just want to say that. All right, now I will talk. I'll share one. I'll share one that I haven't I haven't written it down yet, but have it because it just happened so recently. I just have to write down today, which was I was. Let's look at my task here. So yeah, I had an experience where 2 days ago, where I had a soul experience. You can say dream, soul experience, parallel life, past life, parallel life, where I was a young boy and I was the reincarnation of a different of some monk. So I guess some monk died, and then they figured out a way they had a sort of an agreement, a soul agreement, like this monk would, after this monk dies, the goal is to try to find where that soul of that dead monk reincarnated on Earth again, and to bring him back to to that temple again, or bring him back to the community where he's part of. It's like the I was the reincarnation of as a boy. I was the reincarnation. What's still me, the same soul, but and the story was that my soul from this monk that died was reincarnated into this young boy, and I was this boy, so that was me. So I guess I've been a monk before. It was part of a community in China, and then after I died, the soul went into this. I came back as a young boy. They found the young boy, me, and brought me back to a place in China. Now, so it started out with me. I remember I was traveling in the back of this little through like a sort of like almost like a jungle-like rural thing and rural area, in this little kind of really crappy little car, and it had just the cab of the car, and it was like a flat bed in the back. It didn't even have any railings on the side. I had to hold on. It had like, it's like the flat bed, and there was like no side railings and no gate at the end, just like a cab, and it was like really old wooden kind of flat bed. And there was this head of something. It was like really weird, but I wasn't scared for some reason. It was like part of a ritual. There was like a head of something that was in the flatbed truck, part of the truck, that was tied on the flatbed, and also, it was also just me, and I was just holding on to this thing, and I wasn't in the cab. I'm not sure why wasn't I in the cab. I don't know. Maybe I wanted to hang out there. Maybe there's no room in the cab. I was holding on, and they took me to this. I'm not sure exactly where, but there was once I arrived. Remember, there was a lot of water on the ground, but it wasn't like water like a river or something like that. It was like almost like a sacred pond, maybe, right? Maybe it was like a special place where I was supposed to go into this water, and it was like flat, still as water, and I had to go into it, and I was like bathing myself in there. Maybe I'm not sure, maybe it was a purification. I don't know. What was it? I don't know. But it was like I had to go in this water. And then after that, after I got clean, maybe I was just taking a bath. I don't know. But I got cleaned that way. And then he took me out to get some like ice cream. And so I immediately at that realized, because there's two things happening. It's like multimodal, right? It's like I'm experiencing myself as this young boy, but also there's a very tiny fragment of my soul or consciousness that realizes I'm also that Jacob in a deep-seated consciousness vibrational experience that tapping into a past parallel being. So it's like my personal Jacob identity consciousness fragment of me right here is like also tapping into and being this boy at the same time being me. It's like I'm being both experiences at the same time. So I can feel myself being Jacob and feel myself being not Jacob and somebody else. It's like I'm two beings at once at the same time. And so the Jacob part of myself said like, oh, so it's like I'm getting ice cream at this little shop. So I'm like, oh, this is somewhat not ancient time, it's some somewhat modern time, right? Soft cream, that's not ancient, right? So I guess this past life was somewhat within the past 100 years or so, right? 'Cause I don't think they've had software for 200 years. It's pretty, refrigeration hasn't been around for very long, right? So within the past 100 years, maybe this is like a past parallel life from like, I mean, that's assuming it's from this timeline, right? If it's from this timeline, then it was within 100 years, or it could. It's all happening at the same time. It's all parallel, not past, right? It's hard to talk about it, but or it could be a different stream that's happening at the exact same time as right now, right? It's all sort of parallel, but so these different timelines, are sort of happening at the same time. It's hard to talk about as and linear and nonlinear at the same time. But as this boy, this Chinese boy, I remember, I was handed the ice cream, and then something fell out of the ice cream, like a piece of paper, or I'm not sure what it was. It fell out, or maybe it was some ice cream that fell off of it. And I remember, I was like, as a little boy, I didn't want to waste it, and I grabbed it and I put the fallen piece in my mouth from the counter, and the clerk immediately got tissue to get it out of my mouth. And the feeling that I think is I could sense all the meaning and feeling behind everything at all times. It was like as this boy, I was hyper aware of all this meaning, but also I think it was also maybe it was the Jacob part of me that was. It's interesting because it's hard to know which part of you was experiencing it because at the same time. So it's like maybe the Jacob had all the information about this boy, and I was just a boy experiencing it. But the Jacob part of me had all the background information about who this boy is, what he's doing, why he's there. Because I was this kind of sacred thing where I was like a sacred boy, the reincarnated spirit of some monk. And so that, of course I was kind of treasured. And so I guess they wanted so that the clerk also knew who I was. And so he didn't want me to trying to protect the boy. He shouldn't eat anything bad. He shouldn't be eating that stuff. You only have the good stuff. And I had that feeling when he took it out of my mouth. This reincarnated spirit, protect him at all costs. And I remember right after that, as I was sitting down, the Jacob part of me told the boy to ask a question. And because the boy itself didn't have any questions. He was like this peaceful, clear-headed, peaceful-minded, he had no ego. He was like a little baby Buddha. He was like perfect. I was so blissed out as this little baby boy. I was just I loved being this baby boy. He was just perfectly blissed out, no problems whatsoever, at perfect peace. And this, the Jacob side of me wanted to know more about this boy and where he is and what's going on. So I told the Jacob side of me told the boy to say, ask the person who's your guardian, I guess, the person who drove you here, who, where are we? And so I asked where we were, and he went and located a map, and he showed me the map. Now the map this also kind of threw me for a loop because the map wasn't the same map that we see here in our normal reality here, like it had the same global map you're used to. It was like the center. It was like a rectangular map, but the center of the map didn't have much landmass. It was like all the landmass was on the edges and the corners, like here, like a little bit here, but in the corners of the map had all the landmass. And on this side, for you guys looking at it, on this side here, right here, in this area, was China, and there was different land over here. So it's like maybe they didn't have a full picture of the world yet, or they did have a full picture, and the world was a different Earth or a different structure. So I don't know if it was this same timeline, and it's an earlier map of this same timeline of Earth, or if it was a different Earth, and this was actually a pretty good image or understanding of what the Earth looked like in terms of landmass and water. But China was over here, and I said, okay. So he pointed. He said, "We're here." I said, I asked him. I said, Jacob told the boy to ask the question, where's the closest major city? I thought, what if I can get the major city, then know exactly so I can triangulate it. And and he pointed to the major city is the closest major city is over here. So like the major city was in central northern China, and I don't remember any of the. I was able to focus on any of the names, but I looked on a map, and if I look at a map of China now, map of China, and if I look at some images of China, here we go. He pointed to somewhere that I guess in our timeline it would be Lanzhou or Xinjiang or Yinshuang. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but somewhere around there. That's it. That's if it was in our timeline. If it was in a different timeline, it could be a different city, right? But he pointed to somewhere like in Xinjiang, Lanzi, and then as the closest major city up north, and then he said where we are is to the west of that, so it would be somewhere between Qiemo and Golmud, if in our timeline. So it's like northern western China is where we were located. So I'm gonna actually have to. I haven't looked it up yet, but I'm gonna look and see if there's any like sort of temples and Buddhist monasteries over there, and sort of rituals with finding the reincarnations of monks that goes on around there. And I think I'm gonna see if I can contact some of them, and maybe they'll go, "Oh my God, you're still around. We found you. They found me. And the reincarnation. He's Jacob. Well, I'll have to look into that." So that was an experience I had with that recently about a. Oh yeah, and the last thing I had with that experience of the parallel of me was that there was a time at the very end when I had to make a decision, because remember I said I was Jacob and his boy at the same time, and I had to make a decision on, do I want to continue my experience, like right this fragment of my soul right here, this fragment of consciousness right here is Jacob right now, this identity. If I want it to be absorbed and go and be absorbed into the boy to where I would just be the boy now, and like I'm erasing Jacob, I guess my body would die. I would be dead over here, and my consciousness would be completely absorbed. This fragment of me in this shell Jacob would go to be absorbed into this boy, and basically I can kill this shell Jacob and become the boy completely, basically have my energy focused onto the boy and become that consciousness, or I could be Jacob still. It was like they gave me an option to be the boy or to be Jacob, and I had to make a decision. And I thought, for a second I thought I was so blissed out as this boy. I thought how cool it would be to be this boy, because it was such a peace. It's like in heaven. And then I realized, well, I have a wife and child here. I don't want to leave them. I don't want to kill this body here, and I don't want to cause any trouble over here. So I said, it's probably wisest if I don't leave the Jacob shell and go to the boy, and I'll just, it's all right. I'll pass on it. But I had that option. I had the option of being the boy. I'm not sure how it would have worked out. Like, would my energy would have doubled? Because the fragment of the boy still exists out there. It's parallel me. It's eternal, right? So it still exists and it's still happening at the same time right now, different frequency. So it's like, can you double the fragments of consciousness? I guess you could. What would happen? Would it be double strength? Would it be the same strength? What would happen? If the Jacob consciousness goes into the boy, does the boy change where it's like Jacob / the boy's consciousness? I'm not sure what happens to fragments of consciousnesses when they're combined. Is it the same as the concept of water, right? Holographic water, to where if you have 2 drops of water, it becomes one bigger drop. Is it a bigger drop? It's still water. So obviously it's still the same consciousness, same soul that I have, sharing still part of the same soul, but is it a bigger sort of understanding? Would the Jacob consciousness fragment from this experience, all that knowledge be transferred over to the boy as well, or not? That's an interesting concept. I don't know. But that was my experience recently as a parallel self, right? The boy in China. And I don't know how old he was. This is a boy. So that's that. And the one piece of writing I'll do is creative writing, is it's called Japanese Taxi. It's one of the very first writings I've ever had. It's a short one, so that's why I'm picking it. It's also one of the very first dialogues and dream writings. So this is the first in the kind of journey of I call it dialogues and dreams on the spectrum of consciousness. Is this sort of spiritual journey I've had. It's what I call it, because it started out with just dreams and just consciousness is how I understood it in my vocabulary. I wouldn't label the book that now, but that's how it started. So I'm keeping it as how I thought of reality in the beginning. It's called Japanese Taxi. So I was taking a taxi in Japan and driving with two other Japanese girls, pretty. I turned to one of them and she talked to me for a second and ended up saying that she loves me. I realized then what was happening. I was dreaming. I tried to convince her that she is a dream character. I wasn't sure if she did it on her own or if I forced her, my own mind, to realize. In doing so, the main mind can leak into the character, deluding her. The real goal was to understand that compartmentalized area of my own mind through her. She realizes by saying something about, yes, you're right, and she told her friend as well. And it felt like almost no damage was done. The main mind didn't contaminate her. It usually feels very different. It feels like just a puppet on strings and not a real person. One character's mind gets absorbed by the main mind, leaving only the hollow person behind. When she told her friend, I took it as a good sign, one compartment of the mind waking up the other in a very normal-looking fashion. If her friend instantaneously realized when she did, then it would have made me think that more of the main mind is working in them than I realized. And overall, it felt good. The separation between character and our minds was as distinct as the space between us in the taxi. Once we were all in the same boat, or taxi rather, I asked them if they can describe what they're feeling, what it's like to be at different states of the same mind inside a dream, looking at one another. I told them that I do look at the other states all the time, but never when they fully realize it as well. They all gave a big smile. I took that as happy. After all, I can't force them to say anything because the intense nature of it might wake me out of the dream. That's one of the hardest parts of lucid dreaming, maintaining the dream. The fine balance that allows it all to happen. Too much focus, and you become too conscious and wake up. Too little, and you forget you're dreaming and fall into a non-lucid dream. And besides, if I did force her, I would risk contamination again. So I asked a different question. I asked her why she said she loved me. She laughed. You're funny, she said, and took my hand. You see, it's not about me, it's about you. You just realized that you love yourself, and it hit me. She was right. I learned something very profound. If my dream character loves me, then I love myself, right? Was she acting out a dream story? But then why would she explain why she said it by stating that I realized I love myself? Was the main mind talking or her? The appearance of characters was original, as much as I could tell. They weren't anybody I knew. I decided to take her at her word that she first said it because it was a hidden message to me, telling me that I loved myself. I love myself. I woke up. The main thing I took away from the whole experience was that I was trying to teach myself something when it was really me who ended up teaching me. The mind is a tricky thing, especially in dreams. So that's the story, right? This is, I'm not sure the date. It's very old. This is like back, I don't know, maybe 2012 or something, maybe 10 years old or something like that. And as you can see, it's an interesting story, but you can see the terminology I had with this, that where it's like, I at the time, I saw things as I'm just playing with my own mind, right? And they're just dreams, and I'm talking to dream characters, and I didn't think it was anything more than that. And I'm just describing things that, like, yeah, it seems like consciousness is compartmentalized. I'm just stating things very factually about my experience. Like, it seems like I can talk to myself, and if everything's happening in my own head, my own consciousness, then obviously consciousness can be compartmentalized. If I can talk to a dream character and I feel that the dream character is different than me, like But in the dream, in the lucid dream, I'm like, okay, I'm me. I feel like I'm me, consciousness. But yet, when I'm talking to this other dream character, and talking to this dream character, it feels, and I'm talking to it, and it feels separate than me. Like I don't know what it's going to say. I ask it a question, and I don't know what it's going to say. It feels separate than me, and it answers, and I go, and I feel like I got an answer from something else, but I do know it's still in the same brain. So I realized, okay, consciousness can compartmentalize itself, right? There's somehow, it's like you're simultaneously experiencing yourself as an entity, as consciousness, and at the same time, consciousness itself is creating things around you, and it's separate than you. It was like, that was my first lesson, and it kind of taught me about the compartmentalization of consciousness, right? In a lucid dream, you see a beautiful building in front of you, and you go, wow, it's so beautiful. I think it's beautiful because you don't even realize that you actually created it, right? Because you're looking at it as if, wow, what is this thing that's in front of me? It's new to you. It's like you think it's separate than you. It's like you created that. You just don't realize it. And that's sort of like a metaphor for this reality, right? We're creating it, and we don't even realize we're creating it. That's part of consciousness. As above, so below, right? So in a dream, your consciousness can experience itself and create itself, right? You're actor and director. You're objective and subjective, right? You're the actor, consciousness, you, experiencing the setting in this dream that's created by the director, you, at the same time, simultaneously. Same thing that's happening here. As above, so below. Just like in dreams, that model of consciousness and the interplay between consciousness and itself is happening in this reality. It's all the same reality. I would say there are different layers and different perspectives and states and perceptions and perspectives of the reality. And this vibrational perspective of reality, it follows the same model, same fractal, right? Fractal experience. Same thing's happening here, and it's sort of a different twist on it. In a dream, same sort of model, but a different twist on the perception of how it's working, right? It's still consciousness doing the consciousness thing, doing many things simultaneously, being the actor and director, being objective and subjective at the same time, right? Duality is happening in the dream, and also is happening in this conscious state as well, right? So, anyways, I think that's enough for this stream. And as I'm doing this, I'm slowly starting to realize, you know what? I don't need to. I thought about making videos. I may make some videos, but I'm realizing I don't need to have a whole full production. I'm just here. I'm born here to just share this stuff. So I think I'm just going to start doing live streams, and just sharing it. And if somebody right now, there's nobody watching this. I'm just talking in the air, right? My spirit guides are here. That's what I believe. My spirit guides and the higher self and other spirits are here watching this. Even if there's no audience here, there's definitely an audience. It's a huge audience. And the people in this frequency, the people that will watch these videos at some point, and this audience will grow. But I don't need to make fully produced videos and production and make them look nice. I didn't even shave. I don't need to make anything fancy. I mean, not that it's egotistical to do something fancy. You can do that all something you want, but I don't need to. That's the thing. You don't need to. I used to think, oh yeah, you gotta look perfect. You gotta have everything perfect before you do it. You gotta have the nicest video production. You gotta have a nice camera. You gotta have a good intro. You gotta have a logo. You gotta have a bunch of this stuff. Actually, you really don't need anything. Just share your message. That's what you're supposed to be doing. Just talk, share message. And this live stream is actually pretty brilliant. I actually love it because now I don't have to do anything. I just press the button. Let's go. Let's talk. And I just share my message. And then it ends and it's already saved. Next, then I keep going. So I'm going to keep doing these live streams. It's a great way to interact. It's a great way to share my stuff. And so, and also I'm realizing I was actually organizing all my writings chronologically. I think I just need to get all my writings together in one pile. That I'm just going to just live stream them all in any order, because it doesn't necessarily matter that much. You don't have to have everything in a perfect, linear chronological order. I can sort of tie things in together live and I'll talk about it. Say it's connected to this story. Go check it out. It's more about the message and the experiences rather than trying to create some kind of perfect linear, chronological story and have it all done with the perfect edits. Don't need it. I'm just here to share my message and my experience. That's why I'm here. That's how I help the ascension, right? And we can talk about the ascension and all that stuff later. I'll have that as a separate stream. But this stream here is just the intro stream, and I'm just here to break the ice and share a bunch of different stuff, and you can sort of get a feel already about the things I'm going to talk about. And right now it's all kind of a mess in this one because it's a lot of random stuff. But it's me kind of grab hold of what I'm supposed to be doing and figure it out I'm sharing with you what I'm doing as well and why. And this is a learning experience for me as well. So I'm going to be just sharing, I'm going to get all my stuff together and all my writings together and ideas together, and I'm just going to have each a singular topic for each different stream, and I'll just stream it. Yeah. I don't need anything fancy. Don't need a fancy background. Look at, I got the room behind me, and I'll just stream. I think that's something that I've learned a big lesson in my life. Right? Like I said, not that it's ego driven to have something that looks nice. It's fine to have something that looks beautiful and produced and all that stuff, and you look great and background looks great, and so the whole thing's well produced. You have lots of edits and all. It's very entertaining. Yeah, it's fine. But for me in my journey, I've realized that I don't need that, because I used to be like that. I used to have to need all these things to happen, things to be perfect before I do something. And I realized that we don't need a whole lot. I just need to get all my information together and just share it. And live streaming is such a great way to do that. I don't need to, get something well produced, something really fancy. Don't need to create the videos and then upload them. I'm just gonna live stream it and it's already done, right? I don't gotta create the video and upload it. Just talk, have a topic ready, talk about it, share it, and move on. That's it, And also the writing too. I'm not even gonna get crazy with the editing. I'm just gonna do a quick polish on it, maybe get it all together and just share it. It's about sharing the message, not about being perfect. Remember that, guys. You hear a quote that I love, that it's probably out there, but I've also coined it myself in my own little way, right? Which I see how it goes. You don't have to be a master of the universe to get started, but you do have to get started if you want to become one, right? So don't wait until things are perfect. There is no perfect timing. There is no such thing as perfection. There's just there's new things, there's progress, there's change. There's no such thing as perfection, right? There is thing as perfection, but it's not what you think it is, right? Perfection, I call perfection is just, things the way they are, just existence. Existence is perfect in itself, with all its flaws and non-flaws. It doesn't matter, But as far as perfection, meaning you have all the answers, there's no questions, that doesn't really exist, because consciousness is always just creating more. It's infinite. So there's infinite questions, infinite answers. This goes on forever. So it's okay, So I'm slowly realizing myself, I don't need to be perfect in that sense. I don't have to have everything ready and before I do it. Just do it. Just share it. Share wherever, I'm not embarrassed, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm sharing my message, and that's what really matters. So, maybe over time I might have might upgrade a few things. I don't know, but I don't think I care. I might shave one day, maybe I won't shave. Might wear different clothes, might have a different background just to play with it. It would just be to play with it, not because I need it. It'll happen naturally over time, not because I need it. That's the thing. Things happen, they'll just happen, not because it has to be done. And I'm glad that I'm starting this way, because it's just do it. And if I want to add something on, I want to produce something, I could try it, but I don't need to, The most important thing is I get this message out. And that's something I want to share with you guys. Just share your message. Who cares what other people think? If they agree with you, great. If they don't, it's okay too. But just be you. Share your thing. Do your stuff. All right, guys, that's it. And I just want to say I love you all. There's nobody in this room. Nobody's here. But I love you all. And join me on this ascension, right? We are ascending. The ascension will happen over the next decade or so, 10, 15 years. By 2035, our frequency will have been shifted. And there'll be a frequency where it's in the lower realms, the ego realms, as you can see how everything's super spirit, super ego right now, right? The ego stuff is going to be in its own different world realm. The spirit people are going to be in the higher vibrational realm, right? They call it 5D. Yeah, basically we're ascending, we're splitting off. So join me on the ascension process. I love you all, and I'll see you next stream.